Hi friends, I'm back and we are going to finish off this guide series for chat because I've already gained maybe about 488 followers right now, and I'll put a little thing to show you guys, and I average a good amount of viewers every day, and all of them are still new to the game. You know, they didn't start playing the game when I started playing the game, so I definitely know more than them, and they want to see live how I would, approach modules now, since they've seen how I approach shells. And so I thought I'd bring YouTube on this journey as well, and if you guys want to check me out on Abstract, link in the description down below. But without further ado, let's talk about the modules, okay? Because farming those thresholds are quite important as well, along with your shells. That's how you're going to get stats on your characters. That's how you're going to improve your characters, okay? So we're going to go through them one by one, and all three of them are relatively important. It's just a matter of which one do you prioritize more, okay? So I'm going to go through all of them. So the first one we have here is Terramaton. Now, we first have to understand the entire mechanic of Terramaton, because in Inferno there is a little gimmick that now he has that, everything past before Inferno he does not have. And that one thing that he has is immunity, okay? So besides all of that, what we have to understand is the entire mechanic of how Terramaton works. And so if you can see in this picture right here, right? We have the main body and we have two hands, okay? The hand that is here is the attack hand. This is the one that's gonna land defense down on your units. How it chooses, we don't know, but I'm pretty sure it targets the lowest HP percentage and it puts defense down, okay? The right hand of Terramaton gives the main body turn meter and defense up. Okay, that's all it really does. And the main body has two different attacks. One is an AoE smash, and the other one is basically another simple mini AoE. Okay, it is two AoE attacks. So once we understand how this works, you don't really have to worry about the hands if you can kill the main body. Once the main body goes down, everything goes down, just like every other bosses. Okay, and so how do you want to fight this? Alright, now in Hell 4, I will talk about it later on, but we'll go into Inferno, right? Because Inferno has the main body and everything else with immunity at the start of the entire turn for 3 turns, okay? And so because of that, the entire idea of nuking a boss down is to first attack up yourself, put the fence down on the boss, and then slap it, okay? But with Inferno Terramaton, you can't do that unless you bring a stripper, okay? And you can be a buff strip, it can be a buff steel, it doesn't matter which one you use, alright? Now, a lot of the time, if you bring a buff stripper, you're also going to be bringing dots, okay? Why am I not doing that? It's because I still run the DPS route, as you can see with the lineup here. I'm using Veronica here to target the main boss to steal the immunity and give it to my entire team so that I don't get death broken, okay, anymore. Because I'm not caring about this arm over here on the left. This arm on the left, remember, it gives you defense down. And so if I have 3 turns immunity, then I should be good, right? Technically speaking. And so you can see that I have that entire idea here. I have the attacker here, I have the assist here, I have the buff stripper or buff stealer over here, I have the defense down, and I have the attack up in the form of Valerian, which is also a death preventer. Alright, because you have to remember, if your DPS goes down, your entire team is just off. Okay? And so you can see that I have this lineup right now. What some people can do is they can run a Holden instead of Veronica. There's some options there. Okay? If you're running the DPS route, you can run the Ting. You can run the Ting with a, another unit here like Chloros or Hoyan, up to you, as long as you nuke the boss down, okay? A defense down unit can be whatever you want. Whatever defense down unit you have available, use that, okay? And that's why Holden is also pretty damn good, because his S1 on a counter attack is also a defense down. I use Claws, okay? And for your attack up, it can You don't have to run Valerian. If you have a Beyonce, use the Beyonce. If you have a Chiaki, use a Chiaki. Okay? See what works for your account, but as long as your speed tuning is correct, you should be good. Alright? With health 4, you don't need to run a buff stripper. You can just run more damage. So you can easily just take this out and put another damage dealer here. Alright? For example, like a Hoyan. That works. But because I'm playing Inferno, I'm gonna use this. Alright? As long as you do enough damage, you should be good. One thing you have to notice about Diting, or pay attention to Diting, is that you can see that my clause is on Jackal Guard. And why is that? It's because Jackal Guard does more damage to the body, which means when my Diting targets with his S2, it's going to target the main body. Alright? So enough yapping, let's see what a run looks like, okay? Ready? Let's go. Alright. There, stole the buff. Now I'm gonna put defense down on the boss. Okay. Now my Diting's gonna target it and smack it. Alright. So the first hit's gonna come out. You can see the first hit nearly killed my claws, but because of Valerian, I didn't die. And I get back all the HP. Now the second one puts a defense up. I'm gonna steal the defense up as well. Make him a lot weaker. Okay. Lily's gonna reset my Diting so I can do an S3 again. Claw's gonna push back the boss. Okay. No big deal here. Shoot again. And now basically the boss is just dead. You can survive this wave very easily. Alright. Okay, you can see the immunity boot doing work here. And down he goes. Alright. And that is basically my run. You can see exactly 1 minute on the dot. Okay? When do you farm Inferno? Or when do you farm Terramaton? More precisely. When you're looking for Fury Edges. When you're looking for Knights, when you're trying to build your DPS. That's when you go in here. Okay? Once you've... that's mainly when you're in Inferno. You're looking mainly for Knight, you're looking for Onslaughts, you're looking for Fury Edges. Okay? The Ether Plagues, the Wellsprings, they are nice to have. So if you get them, keep them. Okay, unless they are shit stat, obviously. I'm not going to teach you how to do that. I've already taught you that before. And so, that's when you're going to Terramaton. Alright? How often? Depends how many DPS you want to build. Okay? Without further ado, let's talk about Doky Doi now. Okay, so with Doky Doi, this is the second boss, and this is actually arguably the boss that everybody will be wanting to farm. Okay, and eventually the script is going to flip for you if you're early game, where Doky Doi is going to become much easier to do than Terramaton until you get better gear and better speed so that you can outspeed the left hand of the Terramaton, which we already talked about. But Doky Doi, what is her mechanic? She basically has a very, very simple mechanic, which is there are 2 waves of mobs that you have to clear. And with the wave of mobs, they have a massive shield or damage reduction buff on them, which takes them to about 90% damage reduction. Okay? Knowing that, the only way you can get rid of it, they already tell you, is to apply a control effect. And what is a control effect? It can be Forgetfulness if you have Silence. It can be a stun. It can be a freeze. It can be a sleep. Anything that CCs the opponent works on getting rid of that damage mitigation. And once that damage mitigation goes, they become piss easy. Okay? So there are 2 waves of the bosses or mobs, if you want to say, and they do similar things, which is defense down, speed down, attack down, and massive damage and turn meter reduction. Alright, the second wave is arguably more tanky than the first wave, and so you have to pay close attention to that, because if you are already, somewhat dying-ish in the first wave, then you are in trouble for the second, right? But chances are that's not going to happen, because the first wave is pretty easy. Alright, now what you have to remember is that in Inferno, you have an additional mechanic on top of the 90% damage reduction effect, which is if you get touched by the mobs, if you don't have a shield, and you have, just your raw HP, you are going to lose HP, max HP. Okay? Just remember that. Alright? But without further ado, what do I use? Okay? Now, I am a very lazy individual. Alright? I hate changing gears for PvP and PvE. Okay? And so, my guild and I, shout out to Eskimo, he's, you know, figured out a comp that can just use PvP gear, sorry. And I can use that team, but I thought I'd show you this first, okay? Because this is a very standard comp. You have, you know, your Freya, you have your cast for the CC, you have Valerian, you know, to death prevent and to provide you that constant shield so that you don't get your max HP, you know, dwindled to fucking nothing. Ciada as the main damage dealer because that's all you really need with Ciada. And you have Lily. Okay? This is the comp that most people will use. This is the safest comp that you can go in with. Using this comp, you should have no issues whatsoever. Alright? The speed tuning that you want to have here is to have your Freya move before your cars move. Okay? Why is that? It's because if you use Cass and you sleep everyone and then Freya wakes them all up, you're kind of screwed. Alright? Because your DPS is going to technically be a lot slower than all of them in Inferno. And if she's slower than everyone in Inferno, you're gonna get hit by all of them. Okay, so ideally you don't want that to happen. You want Freya to put up the attack buff, right? Push up your team a little bit. Then you want Cass to sleep all of the first wave so that your Ciada does not get damaged or injured and she has the shield to protect herself from the injury damage. And then you're going to start nuking that way, alright? As the game goes on, Ciada's going to get the orbs, Revelation's going to proc a few times, and then you just wipe. Okay? The other team that I use, okay, that I can use, is if I were to take these two out, Lisa's the core, as you can see, alright? And what I do is I just slam into two more DPSs, and these DPSs are built on my PvP gear, okay? And this works just as well, alright? You don't have to use what I use, okay? So, I'm going to show you the comp that, you know, everyone say you must use, which is this one, okay? This has a chance to fail, and the reason you will only fail is that if Ciada dies. That's the only way you lose, okay? Besides that, you're not losing, alright? So without further ado, let's take a look what it looks like, alright? Ready? Okay, you can see that everything I just said happens. Alright, so the first wave is gonna get hit now. Now that I have the shield, it doesn't really matter. All the attack down, defense down doesn't matter on me anymore. Okay? Because I'm not losing my HP anymore. Alright? And then this is the part where you can see Valeria already lost some HP there. And now she's gonna put up the Hazy Dream again. Which is good because we're going to enter into the second wave with her still sitting on Hazy Dream. Which is good. You want that. Alright? Okay. You see that? That was dangerous. That was very dangerous. Alright, now you put everyone to sleep. The Revelation's gonna proc. And you can see that's a fail. Alright? That can happen. That can happen. Alright? So, I'm gonna cut over here and I'm gonna show you an actual proper run that, you know, actually works. Okay, we're back. And we're gonna try this again. Let's see. Okay, everyone's supposed to sleep. Oh, Ciada's gonna nuke again. Alright. Gigabyte pushes Kazuya up. That's what you want. We reset Ciada. Okay, now we're gonna enter the second wave. With everything. That's good, that's what you want. Okay, this time we did proc time weave on Kazuya, or Kazuyo, sorry, and we got them to go to sleep, which is good. That's what you want. All right. Now we nuke again. All right. No big deal here. We can take a little bit of damage, that's fine. Alright, everyone goes to sleep again. But this is what happens, right? And this is why you don't want that to happen, because Freya will always wake them up, which is annoying as shit. Okay, you can see that this thing now has its shield up. But that's fine, alright, because we're going to turn it off. And as long as Freya stays alive, we are good. Okay? Because the only way we're going to kill it now is through Revelation procs. Is this run gonna be super slow? Yes. That happens when your Ciara dies. Okay? And that's how you clear it. Alright? 2.5 minutes. Slow as fuck. But it cleared. Alright? That's all that matters. Okay. I'm gonna show you the other run now. And let's see the difference. Okay? Let's take them off. Let's put the Messiah. And let's put the Yelly in there. Okay? And we'll go. Where you can see that my Messiah still has 2 turns of invincibility, so at no point do I feel like I'm threatened at the moment. Alright, we're gonna... they're slowly getting gunned down. Revelation procs now. That's another one down. That's another one down. Now he's gonna hit into invincibility, which doesn't matter. Okay, going back to sleep. And this is where we nuke. And there you go. Okay? This entire setup is on my PvP gear. Alright? There is no real speed tuning to it. You can see that my Yelly is obnoxiously fast, and with my Lily pushing my Yelly, because my Messiah doesn't have the, you know, the damage, the highest attack in that entire thing. Happens. Okay? But you can see it's a very safe run. It's a very safe run. Okay? And that will be Doky Doki. As long as you understand the mechanic, I just showed you that there are 2 different ways you can go about doing it. Let's talk about Aurora now, shall we? Alright, and so the last boss that we have here is Aurora. Now, Aurora is arguably the hardest boss to beat because it fucks with your healing. Okay, and if you can't heal, that means you can't really survive Aurora, right? And that's her entire gimmick, okay? She does not allow you to dot her. She puts up immunity, her ads put immunity onto her with cleanses, and you have to either beat her super fast or you have to take the nice and slow route and play with her actual mechanic. So I'll talk about her actual mechanic because I don't have the units built to cleave her, okay? She works like this. Basically, you're gonna have a whole bunch of, fucking shit buffs around. The first one being Curse Shield. And what Curse Shield is it absorbs your healing. So you need to out-heal the Curse Shield to remove the Curse Shield. Okay? So that is the entire gimmick. Once you remove Curse Shield, then you can start doing a lot more damage. Alright? That's because Curse Shield is annoying. It reduces your damage dealt. Alright? Once you remove this, you're good. Okay? Second thing. She has this thing called Accumulated Anger. So every time she attacks, she's going to get this effect, when she uses this skill. And it starts at 15. You're going to have to knock this down to 0. Alright? And once you get this down to 0, she doesn't do a lot of damage. Alright? The more stacks, the more anger stacks she has, the more angry she gets, the more painful she hits. Okay? And that's basically her entire gimmick. Remove the shield, remove the anger, kill her. Okay? Now, what am I using? Let's take a look. Basically, I am using a very slow team, but this team is quite consistent. My speed tuning is not the best, okay? I hate doing the speed tuning shit for PvE because I'd rather just go with my PvP gear. But you can see that this is, the entire idea here. Now, Ling has to have her S1 maximum, alright? You need it maxed. Because this is going to give you the amount of healing enough to get rid of the Curse Shield. Besides that, you're also going to need Supernova. You can see I don't have Supernova, so I still struggle a little bit with her. Alright? But I can still manage to clear it. Okay? Valerian is here to give the shield, the attack up, and because I'm using Siada, all the buffs translates into damage when I use Siada. Okay? You can see that I have Viper here to, strip the immunity. So for the off chance that I manage to put defense down from Siada, that can happen. Okay? But more importantly, it's the slow and the attack down. Because if she doesn't hit hard enough, I can out-heal them. Right? With the shield, with the shielding and the healing. Okay? And that's the entire premise. Don't worry about the ads. Just nuke the boss. Okay? And so I'm going to show you one run of what that's going to look like. Alright? Let's take a look. Now this is the part where you have to get rid of this fucking paper debuff thing because that lowers your chance of removing the anger. Alright, the shield is off. It's good for us. Alright, now we keep going. Okay, the shield comes back on. Okay, you can see it's still absorbing all of that that healing. Alright, but we are surviving pretty well here, which is good. That's what you want. Alright, we keep going. Now the shield is off. And then now we can push for damage again. Alright. That's fine. Now she's gonna attack. That's okay. Alright, the shield's back up again. But we have Revelation, so it's okay. We're gonna do more. We're gonna do damage through Revelation. That puts us back up. Now we're in the safe spot again. Alright, so now we'll just keep hitting. Okay, just keep chipping away at the boss. Just keep chipping away at the boss. It's gonna be a slow ass fucking run, but you expect it. Okay, because you're not cleaving. Alright, eventually that shield's gonna come off. There we go. Okay, and that's how you do Aurora. Very slow run, but better slow than not clearing it. Okay, so hopefully this can help you guys out for the 2x event. Alright, you're going to spend your first day probably farming investigation, get your units up to scratch before you enter the dungeons or the actual gear dungeons. And so hopefully this video helped you out, and if it did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys in the next one.